everyone, and welcome back to English class. I hope you had a restful break and you got to do some reading. Before I talk about today's mini lesson, I just want to introduce Bend 2 and let you know what's happening in this part of the unit. So if you see here, our goal in Bend 2 is to write another essay, but this time we won't be writing about character, we'll be writing about themes. Okay, and this may be new for some of you, and part of what we do today is go through the steps that help us identify a theme. So just to note, you're not working on a new story or new book, so you'll be writing about the book or the story that you wrote about in Bend 1. So if you wrote about Augie in Bend 1, in Bend 2 you'll be writing about themes in Wonder. One definition we can use to help us understand theme is to think about what the author hopes to teach us through the story. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. And also I want to stress the importance of what we're doing in this part of the unit because this is really high-level thinking, writing about the theme of a text. So when you get to high school, and when you write essays in high school, when you write in the SAT, and then later in university, most of the writing you do will be analyzing a text, reading a text and discussing the author's message and discussing how the author supports that message. This is something you're going to do over and over in your academic career. And our goal here in this unit is that you get off on the right foot and you're confident writing this essay, the essay in Bend 3, and then essays as you work your way through middle school, high school, and university. So today's goal is that we see how life lessons the character learns are the life lessons the author wants us as readers to learn. So I have a quote here. It says, "In life, you will find that you learn the most through tough times." Okay, so I'd like you to write down what that means to you in your notebook. Okay, so just take a moment and think about what this quote means to you and write it down in your notebook. You'll be submitting a picture of your notebook at the end of class, and I'm curious to see what you write here. To give you an example, something I might write here is, so here I wrote, in high school I learned a lot about myself through losing at sports. Okay, because when I read this quote, the tough times that I remember that jump out right now are not the victories that I experienced with my teammates. There were many victories, but what I really remember are losing, and that feeling of losing and how those losses made my team better or made me better. So that's just one example. So I'm curious to see what this quote makes you think of. So like I said, take a moment and write down what this connects to in your own life. So you can pause the video here if you need to, but I'm going to move on. So we take this idea that the author's teaching us something through the experiences they describe with their characters in the story. And just like we as people learn through our own experiences that are difficult and challenging, the same thing happens for our characters. Okay, so we're going to use this idea of hardship, of difficulty, as a way to identify themes in the texts that we read. Okay, so our goal in the next part of this mini lesson is to look at Raymond's run and identify the challenges or the motivations of Squeaky, the obstacles she faces, and then how she deals with them. Okay, because if we take a look at our goal and we replace character with Squeaky, we could say that the author wants to teach us what Squeaky learns in the story. So as we go through this, I'm going to ask you some questions, and what I'd like you to do as you watch is just pause the video and come up with an answer and then unpause. So for this first one, what does Squeaky want? Okay, I'm going to share my answer, but before you hear my answer, I'd like you to write down your own. Okay, so right now, you can pause the video, and the question is, what does Squeaky want? Okay, so you're pausing and writing, and while you're doing that, I'm going to write some of my answers here. Okay, so I've got two answers here. I wrote that she wants to have a friend and she wants to connect with people. Now, Raymond's Run is a bit unique because we don't really learn about Squeaky's motivations until the very end. Often in your stories, you'll find that the author lets you know what the character really wants earlier in the story. So we've got some ideas here about what motivates her. Okay, and we're going to call this step one. Now we're going to think about the obstacles, the things standing in her way. Okay, what's preventing her from connecting with people and having more friends? Okay, so you're going to answer this question now, but first you're going to pause while I write. Okay, so for the obstacle that Squeaky faces, I identified her brother. Okay, you know, her brother Raymond has special needs, and through the story we saw that her her desire to protect him and to feel like a good sister, okay, forced her to put this wall around herself, and that's what is one of the things that kept her from making friends. Okay, so that's the obstacle she faces. And here I've got this table here, motivation and problems and then lessons. So I'm going to use this to get some more of my ideas down, and later we're going to try to connect them. Okay, so for motivations and problems, I'm just going to put what I have up top right here. She wants friends, right? She's lonely. Okay, and then for lessons, it's Squeaky's temper pushes people away. And also, I'm going to write that she has a responsibility. She has a responsibility that is hard for her. Okay. Now, over here you'll see a question I wrote. Is what Squeaky wants universal? So what we mean here is that the desires, the motivation Squeaky has, is that unique to Squeaky, or is it something that we all share as human beings? And what we'll find in most of the stories we read is that the things that motivate our character motivate all people. So everybody wants friends. Okay, everybody wants to feel like they're doing a good job, that they're a good brother, they're a good sister, a good friend. So as you read and think more about your books today, you should see a connection between the motivations and desires of your characters and yourself. Right? So when we make this connection between what's happening to the character or what the character wants, to when we connect that to ourselves and other people can connect it to themselves, we call this universal. So the lesson, the theme that the author teaches us, it works for everyone. Okay, it's not specific to one person like Squeaky. So as we continue here in search of a theme, we want to jump out of the book, okay, and not only think about Squeaky and Raymond, but we're going to think about people in general, okay. And what this leads me to, because I see here that, you know, she wants friends, she's lonely, she wants friends, but she's got this temper and she's got this responsibility that's hard for her to deal with. Okay, I'm going to try to write a statement that is not specific to the story, but applicable to all of us as human beings. So let me write it here. Okay. So what I came up with was that, let's see, when you are defensive, okay, and this is how we characterized Squeaky 2 weeks ago, right? She pushes people away, she protects herself and her brother. You keep the bad things and the good out. Okay? So here, I'm thinking that maybe this is what the author wants us to understand. When we're defensive, when we push people away, we are protecting ourselves, and we're not letting anything bad in, but we're also keeping out the good things. Okay? Now, I think I'm pretty happy with this, and I think I could write an essay to convince the reader that this is something the author tries to teach us in the story. This also makes me think of an expression or a proverb that we have in English, and I'll include a link for you that explains it in detail. But it goes something like, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Vinegar. Okay, so the idea here is, you know, flies like sweet honey, they don't like the sour vinegar. So if you're going to catch flies, you would use honey, right? You'd be more successful with honey. So what that means in the story is that if you want friends, you'll be more successful if you're nice, if you're pleasant, if you're honest. You'll be more successful than you would if you were mean and vicious, as we saw in some cases with Squeaky. But this, what we're getting at here is like a universal truth, something that's true for everyone. It doesn't matter how old they are, it doesn't matter where they're from, what they do, who they are, right? This lesson kind of remains true, okay, across continents, across time. It's a truth, and we call it, and because of that, we call it universal. Okay, so this is what I've identified as a theme for Raymond's Run. And let's just review what I did. I started with what motivates the character. Right? Then I looked at the obstacles, and I asked what stands in her way. I used this chart to just organize my ideas, and I looked for ways to connect them. And then I came up with, when you're defensive, you keep the bad things and the good things out. And what I want you to notice here is that My theme, life lesson here, does not include the word squeaky. It doesn't say when squeaky is defensive, squeaky keeps the bad things and the good things out. Okay, I'm not saying that because that would be a statement that's specific to the story, but the author's goal is that these lessons work for everybody. So what I want you to notice here, when I write the theme, I say you. And we'll talk later about other ways to do that. But that's what we did. And here's a chart that'll also be connected to the assignment. Okay, motivations, problems, lessons. Okay, and then at the end here, we crafted our claim. Now, tomorrow, you're going to be writing a flash draft of this theme essay in class. You'll be doing it in your notebook, and you'll have most of the class's hour to get it done. All right, so if we think about the things you can do today to prepare for tomorrow, there's a lot. Okay, and I have some suggestions. The first thing you could do is identify the theme. And to do that, you're going to go through the same process we went through today. Okay, you can use the chart, you can go through the video again, but we're really digging into the text, trying to identify that lesson. So we're asking ourselves, why did the author write this? What does the author want to teach me? Okay, you can use the chart like I did in the lesson. Okay, you can talk to your partner and share some ideas, and I will be sending you questions in your chat rooms to get you to talk to each other and share some ideas. And then once you have that theme, once you have that life lesson, okay, your job will be to go through your text and collect evidence. Okay, so what I'd like to see at the end of class is your notebook page or pages filled with evidence from the text that show how the author teaches this lesson. Okay, if you get done that, you could even create an outline. Okay, so you can write your theme at the top, right? You know, so when I say create an outline, what I mean is you write your theme at the top. Theme at the top, and then you are organizing your evidence. Okay, so you go through your book and you think, okay, first I'm going to talk about Augie's first day of school. Okay, and then I want to say this and this, and then my second paragraph to show that the lesson the author teaches is another thing that happened in the story, and these are some examples of it. So you could come up with some kind of outline like that, and you'll have this with you tomorrow when you write. The goal is that you come in tomorrow prepared to write. You don't come in tomorrow prepared to collect evidence. Okay. Now, as you work today, like I said, I'll be throwing some questions into your chat room and kind of facilitating discussions there about your evidence. Also, at the end of the period, you'll be submitting a notebook page, and there will also be a very brief Flipgrid that I'd like you to complete. All right, so it'll take 20 seconds to do that at the end. So again, welcome back. Good luck on your work today, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Bye-bye.